A new law was just passed here in Nicaragua by the National Assembly last night, as I'm recording this, probably 2 days ago. By the time that you are seeing this, that addresses the availability of dual citizenship within the country, which does still exist, but in very limited capacity should this law truly come into effect. How does that work? We're going to talk about what this means, we believe, and when it comes into effect and how it's going to affect you and others right after the bump. All right, let's start right off with a few disclaimers. 1, I am not a lawyer. 2, I am not in the National Assembly. 3, I do not work for the Nicaraguan government, nor do I have any particular resources in it. So this is me being told by the news that there is a new law and getting a copy of that law and seeing what it says. I am an outsider. I am simply giving you access to the law. So when it comes, we're going to pop it up on the screen so you can see the law firsthand and make your own determinations based on it. But you don't have to worry about hearsay, but you can check. This is in Reuters. This is in the Associated Press. This happened, right? This is a very real event that happened in Nicaragua. I am not an interpreter of the law, right, as many people will point out, but I can read it, and I feel that the verbiage of the law is incredibly clear. Someone, Mark, is attempting to get some absolute, beyond a shadow of a doubt, confirmation from some people in a position of being an authority on that, but it does appear to be a very straightforward, very simple reform of the existing law with only the tiniest of changes. That's the first part. So that's a disclaimer. Nothing I say is official, but I'm going to put up the official law and you can read it and see that hopefully it matches how I describe it. Second part, real quickly, if you are an expat, which is nearly everyone on my channel, the question you will have is, how does this affect you? And the answer is it does not in reality. If you feel that it affects you, either you are such an outlier that we can't even imagine the scenario that you are in, or you've been misled and thought something that wasn't true, and this law is going to expose that that was never true. So that may be the case. Many people come here and think that they are going to have some options that simply don't exist, or practically don't exist. So we do get that from time to time. But this law does not change what you imagine may have been true, but it does not really have an impact on the real world scenarios. Okay, so what is this law? So this is we're going to pop it up on the screen now, and you can just pause, you can print it out, you can read it, whatever. If I get a text copy of it, I'll put it in the show notes. But it's always sent as a picture. This is the law. Okay, so what are the practical applications of this? We're going to start with how it applies to expats moving to Nicaragua, and then we'll talk about Nicaraguans moving abroad. Okay, if you are an expat and you are moving to Nicaragua, 1, it is important to note, nothing to do with this law, obtaining citizenship in Nicaragua is a long shot at best. It is an extremely long process, and when it comes down to it, you have to have permanent residency for a long time. You must then do a number of steps to go after citizenship, and then you must either be personally approved by the National Assembly or approved by the President. One or the other has to personally, of course, the National Assembly is not a person, but it's a group of people, and they personally have to approve you by vote, or the President has to just decide themselves. As with most countries, a president can grant citizenship that is generally within the power of the president. And of course, as we always say, if the National Assembly votes on you and gives you citizenship, or the president decides to give you citizenship, all the other steps likely don't matter. Probably that will override any number of official steps that may exist. But why are they going to do that? They're not. You're going to have done those steps anyway for them to even consider you. They're not in the business of going around finding random people and giving them citizenship. So it doesn't matter. For the average foreigner coming to Nicaragua, citizenship was never on your option list, not in reality. For the extremely, extremely few who were ever going to do it, officially on the books has always been a law saying you cannot be a dual citizen under normal circumstances. There are some exceptions, like for other Central Americans. But this enforcement has been known to be lax for some time. This law that came out last night is reiterating and definitely clarifying that dual citizenship is not an option, except for Central Americans, In Nicaragua, if you're coming from an outside country and seeking to obtain your Nicaraguan citizenship, you will need to renounce your foreign citizenship upon receipt of your Nicaraguan citizenship. So that is being clarified in case there was any gray thought process on that, any ambiguity in the past. Now, what will the enforcement of that be like? There's a lot of questions about that, of course, but the law itself is very clear. Now, that is for expats who are coming in. That affects almost no one because most people already were either worried that that was the law in the books or not able to obtain citizenship, in most cases, both. If you are absolutely 100% committed to finding a way to getting citizenship here in Nicaragua, and you are absolutely accepting of having to renounce your foreign citizenship in order to obtain it, then you may proceed with the very much long shot, but process of trying to obtain citizenship in Nicaragua. In no way are they banning citizenship. They are simply removing the option of dual citizenship for the majority of expats. And truly, those from other Central American countries are not generally classified as expats because we are within a border zone, hence why the whole thing is a different equation for them. Now, if you are Nicaraguan and you are moving abroad, you have a similar problem. Nicaragua does not allow the obtaining of dual citizenship any longer. Again, except for Central America. So if you are moving to the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Thailand, Central African Republic, or so forth, that is fine. If you want to be a resident, you want to live there, no problem at all. If you seek citizenship in that country and obtain it, then you will lose your Nicaraguan citizenship upon obtaining the citizenship somewhere else. Again, this is all me reading what the law says, so go get your own clarification on it, but it seems very clear that this is what the words say. Again, we put it on the screen, so I'm just reading to you what it says as far as I can tell. So this is the much bigger thing, but it doesn't affect expats, it affects Nicaraguans. Many, many Nicaraguans have been going abroad, and many of those seek citizenship elsewhere. And there are really good reasons why Nicaraguans often do that. The Nicaraguan passport is very limiting in its ability to travel and do business, even throughout the local region, let alone throughout the world. Although throughout the world, it's actually generally a more powerful passport than it is in its immediate vicinity, because Costa Rica, Mexico, and the United States and Canada all limit travel and accessibility based on the Nicaraguan passport, whereas Europe generally does not, and much of the world generally does not. So there's actually a lot of very specific limitations based right off the immediate border zone that if Nicaraguans are able to get further afield, generally fade away. So the Nicaraguan passport around the world is an absolutely adequate passport. But if you plan on doing things in the immediate vicinity and want freedom to move very easily, it is a very big limiting factor for a great number of people. So there are reasons, simply based on that many Nicaraguans seek foreign citizenship in order to have a more powerful local travel passport or any specific passport power. There's reasons why all of us at times seek additional passports. So because this is such a popular thing, this is going to impact a great number of people, and friends of mine are already in a position where this will impact them. This is the big change. So if you are moving abroad, you're in the process of marrying someone abroad, or you want to move and work in a new country, and your hope is to get that, not just permanent residency, but to get that citizenship so you can carry a passport from another country, you will officially have to lose your Nicaraguan citizenship in doing that. Previously, there was a lot of allowances for dual citizens. So this is all about seeking new dual citizenship status. So Nicaraguans moving abroad, they're impacted. Expats who were going to move to Nicaragua and planned to keep their foreign citizenship while obtaining Nicaraguan, they are impacted. Again, we don't know what the enforcement is going to be like, but that is what the law is about. Now, when does this law take effect? That's going to be a big question for people, and that is that it does not take effect until 2026. The way that it works here in Nicaragua is that a law, having been passed by the National Assembly, must be voted on by another assembly. That is not a separate body, but it is a body in the future. So this year they passed it, and it passed, I believe, unanimously. It definitely passed very, very solidly. So there's no question that a future assembly is also going to pass this. But basically, the assembly has to have a chance to have had a change of personnel and a chance to have a change of heart and double check a law before it becomes official law. A little bit interesting how that works. It's a little bit different for a lot of people, and just a bit of curiosity as to how Nicaraguan law works. So this, just because they voted on it today, does not mean it's taking effect now, and it will not take effect automatically. However, there is every reason to believe this is in a path and going to, there's no reasonable way that this is not going to take effect in 2026. Just assume that it has passed, but it has not technically completely passed yet. So next year there's going to be another vote. It is surely going to pass that vote and be signed into law and take effect sometime in 2026. So that is the status of it currently. So this is not impacting you technically today. However, many pieces of this law are already in play today, so it's not a completely new law. As far as action, it is a reconstituting of existing laws for the most part into a clarification. There's a lot of this going on in Nicaragua. It's an old country. There's laws that have been on the books for a long time, laws that are poorly worded, in some cases laws that they want to modify, and so they're going through a lot of laws and condensing them to be simpler, condensing them to be more modern or whatever. So we're seeing a lot of these rewrites. They're not necessarily changes, but of course every time they do one, everyone has to look at it, decide if it means the same thing as it used to, how is it going to play in, and so forth. In theory, once they're done with this process, the legal system will be streamlined to some degree and more straightforward, and in some cases tweaked. But for the most part, and we've seen this in other areas, they're simply rewording things and sometimes taking many separate laws over the years and that are very related and putting them together into a single law, so it's much faster and easier for a lawyer or someone who's researching something to have everything that they need in one place and be very clear. That's mostly what's going to happen. So 2026, this is going to take effect. If somehow you can get your dual citizenship between now and then, great. But if you can't, assume that any process you are starting now is going to be impacted by this. You just have to assume that. So any decision making that you would have to make. So for expats, I've never met an expat that this would change their decision making, unless it highlights that they were confused about something else. But for a huge number of Nicaraguans, this changes what they are hoping to do, what they're planning to do, what they're seeking to do. So many Nicaraguans are going to have to gauge their desire for citizenship elsewhere, or the process of attempting to get citizenship somewhere else, because now they would have to face losing their citizenship back home. Thank you for joining me. Like and subscribe. If you want to get in contact with me or anything like that, get down in the show notes. We have every bit of information down there you could imagine, including how to send in a video question and so forth. I will do my best, if we get the text of this law, to include it in there. You can contact me there, social media, all that stuff. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Say hello, ask questions, all that down below. As always, if you want to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/ScottAllenMiller. We have single-time coffees there. You can join the community there. You can join here. There's a join button on YouTube. You can join. And of course, if you share on social media, just watch another video. Anything like that does a lot to support the show. Tell someone about the show. And I will see all of you tomorrow.